a brat, and everybody knew it. I was just terrible. Every teacher whipped me but one, because I was bad. I just did everything the wrong way. Let me put it that way. I was not a good child. I'm not a child anyone would want. And my parents had to put up with me.
Now on the day I was born, the nurses all gathered round.
My last story.
Yes.
I was born in a little town in Illinois called Macon. Population was 900. I went to work when first job I had was 12 years old. I worked on a farm. And then after that, when I got to be 14, I could drive the trucks. So I drove a truck out to pick up the corn and things like that. And I was still going to school, and this was in the summertime or whenever I was off on the weekends. Then I shoveled coal out of the coal cars at the elevator and delivered them to people's houses. I worked for a guy that delivered coal to people's houses. I can't remember what he paid me, but then after that, when I got out of high school, I got a job at a company, a lamp company that was making fuses, bomb fuses for guns and for the Army. And I got a good big salary of 35 cents an hour. Then from then I went to, a friend of mine went to California, and he told me, come on back, he can get me a better job than that. So I went back to California with him. Leo Dunn was one of the boys that was there, and anyway, they wanted to go in the Merchant Marines, and I didn't want to go in, so I came back home. And then I went to Detroit and worked for Cadillac Motors making tanks for the Army, and then I got drafted. When they drafted me into the PAC-75, which was an artillery gun which they put on the back of a horse. But just as soon as I got in there, they changed it to the airborne, and we were a glider outfit. So then we flew quite a few flights on the glider and landed like we were making invasions. This is what we practiced. And then a little while later, they took the 75 PAC howitzers away from us and gave us the 8-inch howitzers, which was a big, heavy gun. The projector on that weighed 200 pounds. It took 4 guys to load the gun. So then, after they got us trained for there, they took us to New Guinea. And then we sat on New Guinea just a little while, and while I'm there, I run into my brother. His outfit's in New Guinea that were waiting to go on an invasion of the Philippines. So then we got on a ship and headed for Leyte, and our first objective was Tacloban, which was the capital city. And then we went in with the 1st Cavalry Division. Well, after we got so far along, they relieved the cavalry outfit, but they made us stay because they needed the 8-inch howitzers. So then they brought in I'm not sure the number, but I believe it was the 27th Division, and we had to stay with them. Then they relieved them and brought in the 32nd. Then they relieved them, and we all got relieved then because we had taken Leyte. Now I'm going to Luzon. I'm going up to the front line in Luzon, and I meet my brother. He's in the 33rd Division, Infantry Division, and we got talking a little while, but that's all, and then we both had to move on. And I found out later that my other brother's ship was sunk in the Battle of Leyte, but he was all right. It just hurt his arm where he held onto the piece of wood to stay afloat. Now then, after that, I got enough points to come home, so they took me down to a ship to load me on to take me home, and some guy up above there hollered my name, and it was a guy that I'd went to school with in high school. And so I took that ship home. I got off and ended up in St. Louis and got on a train and came to Macon. And I got there in January. And in February, my wife and I got married. Now, I didn't tell you, but I met my wife back in where I was telling you about. I went to the place and made 35 cents an hour. I met her there and went after her and got her. By that I mean she said she would marry me. So we both waited till I got out of the service before we did it. Now we get married. Now 2 years later we have a little boy named John. And as he gets older, he's got asthma so bad, I used to drive him around Lake Decatur at night so he could sleep. So then the doctor told us we should move to California because it would make him much better. We did that, and it did. And then 2 years later, he was like, well. So we came back to Macon. And then we opened a shoe store in Decatur. Mel Swanson, my brother-in-law, which was my wife's sister's husband, and we opened a shoe store in Decatur. And then we sold that, and he bought another one in downtown, and I went and worked for a real estate guy and sold real estate and built. I was his office manager, and we built houses and stuff for other people and sold them. And then we decided to come back to California. So we came back to California, and see, where did I go to work in California? I went to work in a factory, and I worked on a machine, and we bought a house in Southgate, and that's where the kids grew up. They went to St. Helens Catholic Grade School and Pius X High School. And then they all went to Long Beach State, except the younger one, and he got a good job in between and decided to stay with it. And then, let's see, where'd I go next? Then I went to work for Zerdy's. The guy came in the shoe store and was just visiting with me and talking to me, and we got done talking, and he said, how would you like to come work in run my shoe store in Zerdy's? And I didn't even know Zerdy's. So he said, I'll give you $100 a week. And I had never made over 70, I don't believe. So that was a treat for me, and I said, yeah, I'll work for you. So I went to work for him for $100 a week. A little later, they sold a shoe department to Carl Shoes, so they made me a manager of the menswear department in Redondo Beach. And I was there not too long, and they made me an assistant store manager. And then after that, it wasn't very long until they made me a store manager. And I was a store manager for about a year, and then they made me a district manager. Furnished me a car and a credit card and everything, and so I was there for about 10 years, and then they were going broke, so I got out and I went to work for Angels. And then Home Depot, I worked for them for a while. And then it was time, we moved to Downey, and then it was time for me to retire. I was 65, so I was 65 in February, and I retired in January. And then after we were there a while, when I retired, we moved to where did we move to? I want to say Redlands, but that's not it. Oh, what can I think of that? A, B, C, D, E, F. Anyway, we moved to a town up north by Redlands, right next to Redlands. And we lived there for 10 years. And Lucille went off mentally real bad. So then I decided to move to Leisure World so I could keep her penned in and she wouldn't run away too far. So then I moved there, and I've been in here since then. I moved out for about a year to over by Jane, and I didn't like it, and I moved back. So the rest of the time I've been in Leisure World, and I'm going to stay here till I die.
Do you have any regrets in your life?
Not many, if any. I can't think of any real regrets I've had. The best memories?
Mm-hmm.
I think the best memories was when I asked my wife to marry me and she said yes.
How old were you when you got married?
Let's see, I was 40, 22, 24 years old. How long was I married? I see, I was married got married in 46, and my wife died in, when did she die? We were married for 55 years.
How many children did you have in that time?
4.
How old were you when you had your oldest child?
The oldest one?
Mm-hmm.
I was 48. No. It was in 48. Yeah, I was, wait a minute, no. 48, and I was born in 22. That would have made me 26.
Were you married only one time?
Just one time.
How many girlfriends did you have before you got married?
Well, a few.
What's your favorite food?
Christian Pit ribs. It's probably one of my favorites.
How long have you been drinking a glass of wine a day?
Let's see. It's been about 20 years.
Did you go to college?
No. I started smoking when I was 14 years old.
When'd you quit?
When I was 65.
Why'd you quit?
I quit because I knew that it was going to kill me. I would take away a lot of my last years, and I wanted to live a little longer.
When did you lose your virginity?
I was, I believe I was 13 or 14.
Have you ever done any drugs?
Drugs? No.
Yeah.
Never no drugs. I drank a lot, but no drugs. Drinking was part of your job back in those days.
How old were you when you started drinking?
14, 15, somewhere in there.
Around the same time you started smoking cigarettes?
About the same time as I started smoking cigarettes. But in the bar, they would serve me when I was 14. As long as the parents didn't complain, they would serve you. But if the parents come down and said don't, they wouldn't serve you. You couldn't get a drink. Good. I think I'm lucky. At 95 and I can't walk good, but I still can walk.
Right?
I'm not in bed. Let me put it that way.
That's great.
We weren't sure either.
Don't forget to get a copy of the newspaper.
How old are you now?
95.
95, still young.
95. I'm not 100 yet. I want to make 100, I hope.
I hope so too. That'll be good.
Because my mom did it and I want to do it too.
That's a good goal to have.
Yeah.
Are you still eating a donut every day?
Oh, yes. Just about. Once in a while I have a lot of mornings I have 1 egg and two pieces of toast and my coffee and put jelly on one of those because that jelly's good for you, you know.
Right.
Got a lot of sugar in it.
All right.
Now, see, I can't see who that
Over where? That's your neighbor over there.
is. Did you meet my neighbor?
Mm-hmm. I have. She's here.
She's a wild one, I'm telling you.
Right.
I keep trying to go to bed with her, but she won't go to bed with me.
Why not?
I don't know why.
Oh.
At 95, it'd just be a joke anyway. I'd like to have about a 50-year-old woman, a young one.